We met with students last week, and sadly, I might be missing something here, but I couldn't get past this wall where selling the building is concerned. We seem to come up with this brick wall where all the time Christine and Stuart, probably rightly, say that their department for market research say nobody will want to buy the school. Our argument was, if that was my house, a house of mine found in Essex, and I went to the estate agent and said, I'd like to sell my house. And he said, well, nobody wants it. Would I really be serious and just go and knock his door and take his word for it? That we've had that meeting. I opened an Alderman School, and as I say, we pressed this issue about please why not just try it on the market. Nobody will want it. We couldn't have set past that hurdle. I opened an Alderman School last day, and a gentleman in Stanley has just bought one of these old schools that nobody will buy, so that the people in Stanley can keep this part of their heritage, and he's going to make it into an apartment, which he's already done elsewhere in another old school building, very successfully. On top of that, I got contact for our friend Mr. Murray, who works closely in the circles with buildings of heritage, and as he just said earlier, he made 3 phone calls in the course of one weekend, and he asked the REIT company that would be only too happy to come and have a look at it and possibly put in a bid. But it's not on the market because nobody wants it.
In respect of Stanley School, it has just been purchased, and the gentleman has come out and said he's interested in redeveloping it. And again, I've not seen the newspaper report, so I will read it later. But the council sold that in a number of years ago, a good few number of years ago, because it was listed. And again, I go back to the point. It was listed, it was in better condition than the one that we've got here, and we had interest from a developer who wanted to turn it into apartments. Sorry, may I finish? Because I'll very quickly make my point. It then was boarded up and stood there in the middle of the town centre, attracting vandalism, attracting all sorts of issues, etc. The council has been on to that gentleman for many years to try and get something done on that particular building. Another example, Easington, and again, when I put this to the guys that I met last week, they said, come on, it's Easington, it's not Spennymoor. The same issues that have been said there. Heritage of the school, listed building, etc. Sold by the council in 1999, again, in fairly good condition. It's still boarded up today with many issues in terms of the vandalism, the fires, the arsons, etc. So again, I look at Wing Hill School, so if you don't accept Easington as an example, we've marketed that site on the basis that it's in a conservation area, it's in the middle of Durham City. Nobody has been interested in that site, taking that building. The only interest in taking that forward has been to demolish that particular site. That's the only interest that we're getting at that particular time. So again, I go back to £3 million condition survey. To convert that into any sort of use, that's the size. So again, the point that you make about your house, this is, if your house had more repairs required than it was worth, then demolition, that's the example. So it's about context.
still can't get your head around why it's so different try. Because this guy, I'm just quickly skim reading this article. Yes, the school was bought up for a long time. This guy only bought it last week at auction.
Sorry, at auction for the next to nothing in terms. But again, it's still only interest. He bought a liability there, and we still haven't seen any evidence that that will come forward. But again, it's listed, and that's part of the issue there in terms of the Spennymoor School, and it's in the middle of the town centre.
I'll bring him in a second. I've got several other people I need to bring in first, if you don't mind, including the lady in front of me.
Can I just ask, majority of all like, the amount of reservation that you need and then you can't do what you used to do. So whichever more person said that you've got three, like you know, people who are interested. If you could tell us why is it any of your concern how much renovation it needs, you wouldn't be the one paying for it. You wouldn't be the one.
My God.
Get that mixed up. Grade 2 and Grade 1 listing and heritage are separate things.
Sorry, they are, but sorry, they are, but it's that, again, it's the liability that, again, we've got a responsibility. If something is a liability to the community, then we've got to make sure that that doesn't continue. But the three examples that I gave there, and very clear examples, I mean, again, I can get you the information on all of these. They just sat there, boarded up, attracting nothing but vandalism going forward. The point is that if that don't get through that marketing exercise, if the liability is on the school, the funding coming out of keeping that building there until it's resolved is all coming from those school budgets. So we need to act. Well, again, for the reasons we've identified, we are certain there is, sorry, despite that, I can make 3 other phone calls, etc. It's fine getting people to say, I'd be interested in that. Until they see the condition, until they see the site, and as I say, the internal arrangement, until they see the structure and how it's built. Sorry, and with respect to, until you've actually seen that, then you can't really come up with an interest.
Okay. Lady in purple. Yeah, I've got you. Sorry. Lady in purple. I'm sorry, could you stand up?
Sorry, from here.
People are interested in this school. It doesn't mean it's legally for them, just because those other people do.
They want to sell that school because that's the only way. They want to build on that school base. It's the only access they've got into them houses. No way to only that access of the road.
Sorry, that's just not true. There's a number of accesses.
I
can agree with that.
Yeah, sorry.
Because I tell you what, we get really bad at the first time we saw was a couple of days after we got those doors down inside school and we paid off the Turn Road School. There you go.
Right, lady
as well. Yeah, I think the place is
okay, respectable chance to talk, Lady the Back.
I'm Councillor Maddie from the funeral of the First of all, I do have to declare an interest because I'm also a governor at the Whitwood School, but also I was a governor at the Grange for many years. It's quite obvious to me that there's a lot of emotion within the people of Spennymoor as regards to the building itself. The fact is, you know, it's historic. We actually have a lot of pupils who've attended throughout it's sentimental. And listening to what has been said, also the knowledge that I have, which I cannot divulge, but also I think it's important for the people of Spennymoor that we do have some memento as regards to the school. Now, 2, possibly 3 years ago, our group as Spennymoor Town Council put forward the idea of modernising the kitchen arch. Now, as part of that kitchen arch, we were suggesting murals. What I would like to put forward for consideration from Durham County Council, from the AK, Spennymoor Town Council getting involved as well. There's actually taking something from Durham Wraith School and actually building it in to a redeveloped kitchen arch. Even incorporating some brickwork back here. And this is something But also, it is important that we have something in the time for Durham Wraith School. My mother attended when it was Alderman Wraith. I attended Durham Wraith School. It's very sentimental to me. So I've got some, a working party to be set up on that. We're also, Councillor Foster, I would like to put things into perspective with regard to Wimbledon Hall. I have read the 28 pages of the auditor's report on the Wimbledon Hall, and Mr. Simmons, we were also parties to that report. And as regards to the sale of Wimbledon Hall, the value was 241, but the actual cost was 206, because 36,000 of that went in to repairing the heating, because when the purchaser was involved on it, it actually indicated that Durham County Council, I believe, that was somebody from there, that said the heating was in working order, which it was not. And that's what we went for.
Ian, can I bring you in then? No, sorry. Right. There's a time and a place. Wimbledon Hall will be discussed till I...
We don't want to have a situation like Wimbledon Hall.
Okay, Ian.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. As people know, I was one of the instruments to get this meeting set up. I'm the leader of the Town Council. I just think Councillor Madison's a little bit off the mark here with regards to what we're here this meeting for. We're not here to discuss the John Keaton Arch and Cape Heritage, we're here to discuss this Durham Road building. I think at this point in time, we should keep the discussions to that. And can I further ask, with the greatest respect, can everybody please listen to the answers to the questions as they're given?
Lady in the middle.
Now, obviously, can't all shoot down, but what I would suggest is 2 or 3 people, possibly part time, with all the health safety, whatever, 2 or 3 people who are interested, perhaps this gentleman here, are shown around the site, just so we know what condition it's in. Well, but if we know what condition it's in, we don't know. It might be perfect for all I know, it might be falling apart.
Can I just say something? I live near the school. I was on a look through our tapes the other day, and our houses were built in 1860, which means our houses were built before the first part of the grade of all Spennymoor. Surely, if I was saying the old part of Spennymoor, it's big beneficial to take the frontage of the school, the original part of the town, like the bulldozers to put these monstrosities, whatever you put in its place. All I'm talking about is the frontage of Durham Road.
And I'm remiss of me actually, earlier on I did, I'm not sure what I said or didn't say, we had 4 people who apologised. One of the people who apologised did have a suggestion, and their suggestion was pretty much along those lines of doing, I don't know if you know, the Laurel building in Bishop Auckland. Now, the difficulty with that is, one, again, it's a listed building, and 2, the reason the scaffolding's around is there was a fire there, and structural, yeah. So that's why the scaffolding's around it. Now, because of it's a listed building, and because of being able to draw some money down for the Heritage Lottery Fund, but there is a way forward for that building and that school, and but that's taken 15 years to get to any kind of fruition, and even then I'm not absolutely sure it's going to be delivered on. But the suggestion was one lady that in effectively we kept the front of the building and demolished everything else behind it. And the danger with that is, it's the same danger with all is, they would have a structure open to vandalism, open to misuse, without any real possibility of somebody building on behind it. Could it be a large, relatively unsound structure?
Could I just clarify things here? The upper school has been sold and it will generate money. It's been flattened to Greenfield site. I'll remind everyone, I'm not talking about keeping everything here. I think everything's about compromise. And what I'm really trying to say is that, as Stuart has confirmed, there is other potential access that will meet highways criteria to the land at the rear of that building. There's a lot of 1960s building corridor. I'm talking about, anybody went to school, gymnasium, gone. What was then leading on from it, the chemistry, music labs and then art, gone. Corridors, language blocks, gone. Assembly halls, go. There's still, I would estimate, more than 2.86 hectares of land that can be developed while still retaining that curvy in, curvy out, grand frontage. The usage of it. Please remember, it's not like, I'm going to get graphical now, it's not like the town council has lost 50% of its budget and it's desperate to keep this building, so it's going to build a wall right down the middle of this structure to keep that part. This was a standalone building in 1912 that was then added to. Those additions can be easily demolished. In fact, the demolition is taking place now, and it's taken from the rear toward the front. I don't know what the timescale is when it then hits the old original building, but I do not believe a feasibility study, and it has not been market tested, would somebody be interested in that front part of the building whilst the same company or another company can then gain access to and develop the rear of the building. I'm not trying to keep everything.
I think the rear of the building, the playing fields, would indeed make lovely playing fields for the children who were living all in those houses. Something that's starting missing in Spennymoor.
Gentleman at the back, gentleman in the middle, and then gentleman in front.
I live 70 yards from the school wall. I live in Wraith School, next to Jennifer Blaine School. We lived there a lot longer than that. I don't have an emotional attachment to the school because I'm new native originally. Where's the common sense gone? I don't personally think if it's deemed supposedly necessary for the school to be demolished, first thing, I don't have an issue with that. I think there's a lot of questions in how you've got to that point when you consider the building that was sat in was only built 4 years after the school. There's a number of issues. My main concern is that the gentleman could be, there's obviously a lot wider than me, and didn't spend a lot longer than me. But I have 2 children, aged 10 and 12, who have to go to the far end of the town to play in the car across an exceptionally busy main road, which doesn't have a pedestrian crossing of any way, shape or form, unless he's going to school time, so which he shouldn't be. The main reason I'm asking is, we're going to make the town worse by adding more housing. The town doesn't need more housing. We have hundreds of houses getting built and have already been built at the top of the town. People, the majority of which are professional people that work in a lot of the white-collar workers or the big, what's left of the industry in this region, that are travelling or come up from different parts of the country. Oh, I can buy a house there. That's only half of what I paid down here to buy it myself. Well, I've now got a job there, so I'm going to buy a house there. There's a financial background or setting in their life whereby they're not going to set up in Spennymoor Town Centre. They're going to be in the Metro Centre. They're going to be going to Durham. They're going to be going to Darlington. The town that Spennymoor is today, I've been here 21 years. The good town, the honest hard working people, you can say them in front of you. I'm creative, a town which is in dire state, like in Spennymoor. The only thing in Spennymoor that's got going for at the moment is if you want something from a charity shop, or you want to take away in the town centre. That's all we have to do. We have a good school. I'll go as far as to say it's about an excellent school. I've got one child going there now who's doing fantastically well, and another one due to go there in September next year. It's going to make it less of a school, by the fact of having hundreds of new homes with potentially God only knows how many children. We have a doctor's surgery, one of which I'm in obviously, and the other one, which unless you have an emergency appointment, you can't get in for a month because there's that much of a demand. The dentists are the same. You can't park anywhere in town. You can't go and buy anything because there's nothing worth buying in there and invest it in.
Fire
station was built at God only knows what expense. Please don't look at this, but if the building is seen as wasn't necessary or not of safe construction to be used, I'll be honest with you, you can build a fire station next door to my house any day because it makes your house safer. If I put the land not to be used to build a new fire station there at a fraction of the cost, and I dare bet anyone who thinks on Durham Road probably wouldn't be madly paying on it, but they wouldn't mind having a fire station next to them and not hundreds of new houses. Spennymoor has problems of drug abuse, alcohol problems, children going down in the night attacking the children, walking up behind them, punching them in the face and leaving them on the floor. That is the biggest issue of what's going on in the town at the moment. And to be honest, I think it's a shower of shit what's going on. Excuse my French. It's an absolute disgrace. What is being left to go on in this town, the crux of the matter is, the town needs sorting. Another part of the matter is, the school needs part of that issue in a big round picture. That's what's going on in this town, and that's what's wrong.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure quite how relevant it is to today's.
It's exceptionally relevant. If you listen to what I've just said,
no,
this town, the future of this town,
absolutely,
and they're not getting a fair share. I have to take my kids in the car or walk to the opposite side of the town for them to clear an open space. When you've got one there, there's probably 3 or 4 maybe 6 acres inside, which could have been used. And at what point was the school left to go to rack and ruin, then making it unsellable? When, like I said earlier, this building was built before it was
well, I would point you in the general direction of the Westwood Park play area, which we pretty much. Sadly, I don't have children, but nothing I can do about that. Sadly, there is nothing I can do about that.
Trust of the people here seems to be that they would like the facade, the frontage of this building to remain. Why can't you do a deal with prospective developers to keep that's part of the deal, even if you get much less for the land?
Can I just clarify one thing when you talk about the facade?
The people at Spennymoor aren't getting the money, the education people are, who want to repay you for the £11 million they spent on Whitwick Park School.
Yes, which we've advanced towards the benefits of children.
The advance was that these people thought they were going to get this much money from these two sites.
But can I just take you back to the point you made earlier on? When you talk about the facade of the school, you've got the whole of the footage, ignoring the caretaker's cottage, which we're talking about. When I've looked at this, because like I said, people have been talking about living in the town. Well, I've lived in the town as well. I'm 4th generation lived in the town. I attended the school myself. On the whole of the front of that building, the only bit that ever attracted my eye and ever fascinated me was the portico, the door. And that's partly because when I was a pupil, you weren't allowed through it. And one of the weirdest feelings I ever got was when I became a governor and they let me walk through it.
I know. I did the same.
Anyway, sorry. So when we talk about the facade, do you mean the whole of it, or do you mean if we could find a way of protecting that portico? You want the whole of it, right?
They did this with the iconic Wills building on the coast road.
Yes,
they've done it with frontages in Newcastle and built hotels on them, but they've had to keep the frontage. Part of that must have been giving the developers a sensible deal for them to be able to do that.
It is about land values, and I know people have been throwing things around today. I mean, people talk about the Shire Hall in Durham Basin.
It's about making money. From our point of view, it's to keep something you like.
Is there enough value in the land to do what you want to do?
Have you investigated that?
Yes. And
keeping the footage?
No, not directly keeping the person. Alan, and then...
Right, Councillor Foster, I'll just go back to the building that was built in 1912. That's the bit that we're talking about, and nothing else. Given that that building does have that heritage value, are you going to go away from here tonight and rubber stamp the wrecking ball to go in tomorrow, or are you going to turn around and say, people like Councillor Gellar here, and Councillor Thompson and Councillor McAloon at the back there, that you're going to talk to them and allow them to actually consult with us, the people who vote for them, to actually try and find a solution?
What I'm going to do is take a lot of the comments that have been made tonight, discuss it with the relevant people, including the elected representatives of the town, and just see what the art of the possible is. But I'm not going to make any promises tonight.
Yeah, but why do you get over the Secretary of State?
Because as far as the Secretary of State is concerned, this is a done deal. In terms of, he's effectively said, we no longer need this land, because the complication, hang on a second. The complication in the middle of all of this, when Michael Gove was the Secretary of State, you ask the question, you've got to at least give me the chance to answer the question. When Michael Gove was the Secretary of State, he had an obsession with a thing called free schools. And we do have a free school in Durham. And part of the reason it's taken so long to drag all this out was, he basically put a freeze on everything. Nothing could move in Durham and around the Durham area until they sorted out the free school. And when eventually they did move into a site in a school in Durham, that initially allowed us to do where we are now. So as far as the Secretary of State's concerned, the old one, the new one, they said, this is what we want you to do, get on with it. And that's all they're interested in. I'll bring you in, and I'll bring you in, and then I'll bring you back into it.
Well, I'd just like to point out that there's a similar neurotype thing being done at Bishop Auckland with the Lady Hospital. He kept the full facade of that hospital on, and he built a new home at the back of it.
It is all about the amount of value in the site versus what you get and what you lose. And if you can find somebody that's willing to make that investment, that believes there's enough value in the site, then that's a possibility. I'm more than happy to explore the issues that you've raised. I did say George, I've missed somebody else. Yeah. George, sorry, okay. George, then I'll bring you in. Sorry, I do apologise.
Thanks, Chair. I don't think anybody's touched on this point tonight about we do have a new building in the town, it's converted into flats.
Yeah. Spennymoor Police Station.
What happened in that case? I understand that was brought to the town council, the old police station.
No, I belong to the police authority.
Police authority. Hey, he made a cracking job of it.
It was a listed building, so they couldn't get rid of it. They had to find a way of making it work.
But with respect, Chair,
and also
with respect, somebody, when there was a listed building or not, somebody actually come in to prepare to spend money on renovating and making them into flats. That's what we say, that's what all the people are saying. Give it a chance, let's have a go at it.
But the time...
I think that it's just further point, I think it was Brian Constable, the people very honest, they just want to further fail. If there's no access points here, that's getting there, so, well, why don't you get out the top street? You can make a lot of money up there. Points of travel, the relevant points of being there, a number of thousands of properties are getting built in the town. We haven't got the infrastructure to cope with it. The schools, the services, everybody knows it. Why do we need more houses?
Sorry, right.
Well, can we go back to the point I made about the police station? One whole building, the other building, and they did a cracking job and they did a car parking on the side for the residents, so Fairfield. Coming up with something on them lines. Obviously, it's on a larger grade, I accept that, maybe. But surely, if it's going to be done on a small scale, it will be done on a larger scale, I would have thought. It's not rocket science, but you don't want to.
The complicated fact of it's a big difference to get the series to go. One, it was listed building status, so they had to do something with it. They couldn't do anything, they couldn't demolish it, they had to do something with it. So the value of the land that was given away to make that work.
That's a fair important point, we accept that, but what I'm saying is somebody that's prepared to spend money on it. If nobody spends money on it, we'll be more look like it's too sad, wouldn't it?
Sorry, but I think the key point there is the condition of that building, the size of the building. You've got a building which is 5 times the size with 5 times the amount of money you need to invest in it, even to get it up to zero. So we can't even give it away. Is the point? So
I'm sorry, I'm conscious. I'm very conscious of the time. Cliff, can I bring you in, and then I need to start camera soon.
Take back to the point Peter raised about playing fields, right?
Sorry, you're going to have to stand up and talk.
To bring it back to the point of Peter raised concern about playing fields. Now, if at the roadside you're going to put a field aside for King Street scale, and you're going to build houses, then you open that up so the people in the estate can use that field. And at the same time, as I understand it, Spennymoor Football Club are leasing the land on St Charles Road. So, regardless what you do with that, if you keep part of that field, you can then open it up to the nearby estate, solving the problem of providing play facilities.
One of the things I always wanted to do when we go down the line of this was I've been in long-running conversations with a number of people in that, what I call the blocks area, because they've raised this question with me of the play area for a long time. And yes, the nearest one I could do, I revamped Bessemer Park playing area and got the equipment on there done up. But I appreciate you got across the road to do it. One of the things I always wanted to do when we do go out to planning on the site is actually have a playing area within the part of that. It's part of the Section 106 agreement. It doesn't help us with this agreement, but I understand the problem with the blocks in the area and the even for playing area. Kevin at the back, and then I'll bring you in, and then the lady in the purple.
Neil, there's been a lot of good suggestions tonight. Is the process going to be stopped when it comes to the demolition? I'm going to walk away from here tonight. I've been talked about all of things, but have you and Mr. Tibbs taken the decision that we'll walk away tonight and the demolition process will not stop? Are we going to have a little bit more time to consider some of the good ideas put forward tonight?
We do have a little bit of time, which is why... well, the delaying the process would be January if we stuck with the time here. So, like I said, I'll take away the information for tonight and see what the art of the possible is. No, because I don't know the answer. I genuinely... Barbara, and then...
about what we're going to do tonight. And we'll think about it, and we've obviously a lot of questions. Are we going to give a safe time, or is it going to be demolished? I think we've got to do exactly on tonight. You've already decided when that.
Dave Ross has already said he could have made what the town council about it.
Well, I'm going to make the county representatives not the town representatives. That's where the level. No, but that's where the level is supposed to be.
Yeah, so what happens tonight is pretty much can you please tell us what the deadline is? Tomorrow, is January, February, or when? Because it's all very well, we'll sit here, walk on the voice thing, and then you go and you say, oh, it'll start tomorrow, and so on family. So when exactly?
Right. Like I said, the works that were originally designed to be done, we rescheduled the timetable, so we've started at the back and working towards the front.
Oh, you said that?
No,
what is the deadline?
so my understanding is we'd be into next year before we... January next year.
So we've got plenty of time to get ready for the time.
Well, if you feel you need to do that, get them in.
What concerns me about the situation here, we had a situation in the mid-80s getting around with the house building. What the Durham County Education Committee director decided to do was close it. And we tried to railroad it through until we found that every figure he put in front of us was false. What I understand here now from tonight, you've got more questions than you've got answers. And I think what it's like we say, we've got to go back and see, and have a look, and I know it's a different time going on from the mid-80s, but you've got to look back, you've got to go back and meet with the relevant people with of a sort of an action committee meeting and get some definite answers.
The one problem I've got, pressing on me more than anything else, is even if we went down the lines that we talked about, and we were to somehow save the building, what are we saving it to do? No, you can see heritage to your heart's content. What are you going to put in it? What are you going to fill it with? You wouldn't start a new school from here.
So what that's three independent builders to make a decision and say what they want and come up with what's best for them. Then you
No, it's actually a very beautiful sight, and I do really love to see it. Okay, we're getting rapidly something. Well, yeah, I know, but I keep pointing him in and then he just goes back. Hello there.
There's one thing that I find truly disturbing within all of this issue is the fact that all these councillors, all these people have known since maybe 2009 that the school was surplus to requirements, and it wasn't until 2012 that it became apparent within a BAT survey, and in that survey that was the first time it's been mentioned of demolition. And we have lots of councillors, and it's never leaked to any member of the public until people found out maybe 8 weeks ago.
Well, that's interesting, because the number of times I've spoken at the Area Action Partnership about the school, I've spoken to the Residents Association about the school, mostly, obviously, that one about the St Charles Road site. Mostly at the AFP, I was talking about the George Jeffrey stuff and leave it to that. No, I'm talking about the Residents Association. But you're right, I mean, I can only talk about... But no, it's not alternate. The AFP meeting is a forum I meeting.
Can I ask you, Neil, what else a Durham County Council on a great spending law and take back to County Council to Durham, and then what is the poor relations yet in the community?
I would disagree with you. I would say the retention of Green Lane where it is now has been a benefit to the town, considering that 4 of the other district offices have now disappeared. That investment in that, investment that we put into the leisure centre that we continue to do, we continue to make, the investment that we've made into the... We talked about the shopping... Well, right, you're right, we're wandering off the point. Bring it on, man, I really have to bring it on.
Sorry.
This lady hasn't spoken yet.
Very hard trying to take we have a situation with one building over there called the White House. He said, if you manage to save, what would you do with this? Save it, first, get together the working committee together of key people in the town, and then find a corner. Get the people's views, what you want to do, and say why you want to do it. Set up your own party, your working party, to save this building.
Thank you for that. I'm very conscious of time. My little closing argument would be the parcel of land at the upper school and the parcel of land at the lower on what I'm proposing, and would love to get involved with the working party. I believe there's only about 100 grand difference. So by saying to somebody you can't demolish the school, offset the cost of demolition, the area of land that that school is on, and access is still available, whether you argue about school in the future or not, but develop the land at the rear, access is still available, and I believe to a developer, if you purely look at the area of land, you're roughly getting about 150k per acre per day. So I'm guessing the area up at the upper school, the lower school, I reckon about 3.9 million, so you're going to lose £100,000. What's the cost of demolishing the school, and what would a developer who wants that building, because they love the look of it, I think they'll pay more than 100 grand for it, and the cost of refurbishment is there.
Okay, last voice tonight.
I'm sort of go back to what George said about police station flats. A lot of residents on this town live in council houses. Why not convert it into council flats? Actually make a long-term investment by the council into the premises, and actually, eventually, if can take an income back.
The value just isn't in the site. The value isn't in there to do it. I've looked at it. Believe you me, I did, you know, look at what the value is.
How many houses in one two-bedroom house?
Yeah, but...
That's my
Councillor, can I just ask one?